In this section, we're going to talk about the triangle and 2 defense. Now we're taking 2 defenders, trying to take away their top 2 scorers, ball handlers or passers, penetrators, whatever. Taking those 2 people out of the equation. Your other 3 defenders are going to be in a triangle, and we're going to take you through their defensive responsibilities, the slides, the zone areas that they have to cover. Now we're going to talk about the triangle and 2 defense, and what makes this really effective. Of course, now we're taking out their 2 top scorers, and oftentimes when you take away their 2 top scorers, a lot of teams are not going to have players left on the floor or on the bench that can come in and actually make shots. So this can be really effective, especially when you get your triangle defenders, X4, X5, and X3 working together. This can be a very effective defense. Here we see X1 taking away number 1, making sure there are no touches in the half court, and X2 is doing the same with 2, taking away their 2 best scorers, 2 best perimeter players. They could even be their best passers, ball handlers. We're just trying to take those playmakers out of their offense. X3's job at the top of the triangle is to make sure they pick up the basketball as it comes down the floor. X4 and X5 are going to be down on the blocks. 4 is in the high post. Then X5 can slide up and kind of be ready to guard for, actually just like matching up in a sagging man-to-man, you could almost say, with X5. But the responsibilities, the coverage areas, X4 is going to have this entire left side below the free throw line area. That's going to be his area to defend. X5 is going to take everything below this free throw line in this section right here. X3's job is to cover everything above the free throw line. Now I know that sounds like a lot of coverage area for X3, but we're going to show you in a minute how X4, X5, and X3 work together and rotate to help X3 cover that ground at the top. But it can be done. And again, you're taking away their 2 best players. You're assuming now that the perimeter players left aren't really great shooters. So you're going to really use this triangle defense inside here to keep the ball out of the post, keep them from scoring inside, forcing non-shooters to take perimeter shots, and then rebound the basketball. Okay, now we're going to cover the pass to the wing or corner area. Any pass below the free throw line, we're going to show you how we're going to defend it. We showed you in the last segment now, anything below the free throw line on this side, X4's responsibility. So when the pass is made to number 4, X4 is going to slide out and guard that. Again, hands high in a good defensive stance. If number 4 is not a great shooter, they don't need to go any farther than the 3-point line, could even sag in a little bit more. X3 now is going to go and guard the high post. X5 is going to slide over in a help position, knowing that they have to guard number 5. If X5 were to cut across to the low post, it's X5's job now to guard that low post defender. You do not want to front in this situation because we do not have any backside help. So it's important that X5 comes over and plays aggressively in the low post, but does not front and allow them to throw the lob. If the ball is thrown into the low post, the exact same coverage in the diamond and 1, we would double with X4 and try and dig the ball out that way. We do not want to double with X3 from the top because of someone cutting to the basket. So your wing defender is going to double that pass thrown into the post if it does get into X5. But it's X5's job now to cover that low post since X4 has come out. If number 3 decides to cut into the high post, that would be X3's responsibility. X3 must also notice when 5 comes over and X5 goes to guard, if number 3 were to make a basket cut here, it's also X3's responsibility now to sag in and effectively take over the responsibility of X5 on the backside. So X3's got a job to cover now, this high post area, and if number 3 should cut to the backside, X3 will also go with him. So X3's job is to match up depending on where number 3 cuts. If number 3 stays, X3 can stay in the high post and guard that high post flash. If they cut back door, X3 is going to drop down and guard that backside low post area, taking away that action. Okay, so that's how we would cover the pass to the wing. As we told you in the initial alignment section, anytime the ball is above the free throw line, it's X3's responsibility to guard the basketball. And this segment right now, I think, is really very critical to the success of this defense, knowing the rotations and getting X3, X4, and X5 to work together. X3 is on the basketball. If number 5 was to flash into the high post, it would be X5's responsibility to match up with that cutter. Okay, obviously X3 cannot guard both, even though in the beginning we told you it was responsibility of X3 to guard everything above the free throw line. But the rule is when X3 is out of that free throw line area and guarding somebody on the perimeter, anyone flashing will be the backside responsibility. So X5 would now come up and match up with X5, flashing into the high post. Doesn't necessarily have to deny the person, just be there ready to guard on the catch. X4 now is in the post. If 4 were to cut in, X4 would match up with that cutter underneath the basket and stay man-to-man matched up underneath the rim. So again, X3 out, backside flash, backside post is going to come up and cover. If for some reason there was another defender over here, again, X5 is going to come up, X4 is going to slide down into that rim area and guard any skip passes or anything going back out to that wing. And then the triangle would rotate and keep the same responsibilities wherever the ball would be thrown. Now X4 would guard that wing spot, X5 would slide back, X3 would slide into the high post. As I mentioned earlier, the communication between X3, X4, and 5 is really critical to the success of this defense. Here's a situation where it may slightly contradict what I just told you about guarding the high post, but X3 now is out on the perimeter. If they were to run 4 into the high post now, instead of having X5 come up and defend and leave 5 open on the block momentarily, it would be just as easy for X4 to slide up with the player they were guarding, and then X5 could simply match up with number 5 on the low block. So that would be a little different than what we just explained, but anytime there's 2 low block players like that and somebody slides up, it's just a simple read. The player would just slide up with them. Again, they don't have to deny, especially if they're not great in the high post area. If they are, you can try and deny that, but simply be up there so they can defend on the catch. All right, if the ball did go into the high post and X4 guarded it, X3 now would slide down into X4's responsibility, and now you can see the triangle has shifted now with X4 at the top, X3 and X5 now at the bottom of the triangle. So you're going to see throughout this defense that X4, X5, and X3 are going to be constantly rotating, communicating, and guarding different areas of the floor depending on where the ball is and where cutters come from. But it takes a little practice and communication, but you're going to find that it's easy to pick up now with X4 taking the high post and X3 jumping to the basketball, and now they're in a help position in the low post. Even if there's somebody not down there, X3 of course doesn't have to go down that far, but you're still going to try to stay in that triangle with X4 now at the top. Similar to the Diamond 1 now, we're going to show you in the Triangle and 2 how we're going to cover screening situations, both on-ball screens and away from the ball. Here we see number 1, one of the players you're denying has the basketball. They're going to try and set a ball screen now on the top with number 4 coming out to set a screen. Again, similar to the Diamond in 1, any type of action going to the middle of the floor, 1 comes off that screen, X3 is going to read, immediately jump out and stop the basketball with X1 sliding back into the high post. These players have now jump switched. X1 now becomes the high post in the triangle defensively, and X3 now will take number 1 all over the floor. The ball screen to the middle of the floor in the Triangle in 2, we covered it the exact same way we covered it in the Diamond in 1. Anytime we want a ball screen that's going down towards the wing, we're going to cover it a little bit differently now in the Triangle in 2. And that's simply because we don't want X5, our post player, switching out and having to stay with probably a much quicker player on the perimeter. So we're going to do a little bit differently. Here we see X3 is going to come up and try to set a ball screen on number 2. X5 is going to read, and as that number 2 comes off the screen, X5 simply is going to come up and show help. Okay, X2 is going to fight over the top of the screen with number 2. X5 is just going to try and slow the basketball down. X4 is going to come over and help X5 in the post. X3 is going to drop down into the mid-post area. But X5 shows help. X2 fights over the screen. Once the ball is stopped, X5 is now hustling back into the low post, and these rest of these defenders are going back into their normal position. So it's a help and recover situation on screens out of the triangle and 2 that are coming down simply because we don't want X5 to switch out and now X5 having to guard that ball handler all over the floor. We're going to try to fight X2 over that screen, have X5 come out and help and recover quickly back into the post. X4 is going to show and help in the post for a little bit. X3 is going to sink back and help anywhere number 4 might be until we can get that ball stopped. X5 now hustling back into his position, and the triangle is now set with number 2 back on his original ball defender.